Hello, welcome to another edition of Law and Order. As a matter of fact, a special edition. 15th of January every year is a significant day in Nigeria. This is a day set aside to honor fallen heroes, and that is the Amp Forces Remembrance Day. I'm talking as far back as ex-servicemen that fought for the territorial integrity of our dear nation. I'm looking back as far as men who fought in World War I, World War II, and different peacekeeping missions. And don't forget, we're facing insecurity problems in the country, and we have fallen heroes too. So this is a day to honor these fallen heroes. And that's why on the program today, it's all about the ex-servicemen, their welfare, and of course their rights if they are being trampled upon. And talking about rights, prior to the Armed Forces Remembrance Day, at the Ministry of Defense and Finance, we saw ex-servicemen who were protesting for 24-month pension arrears. Why did this happen? And how is this affecting the Legionnaries or the ex-servicemen that we have in the country? Let's take a look as we speak to some of the Legionnaires and of course how all of the pension arrears or non-payment of their pensions has affected their life tremendously. Stay with us, it's still the program Law and Order on Trust Television. Looking at these men, one might think that they are on a picnic or perhaps on a pilgrimage. But that is not the case, as these men are retired soldiers under the coalition of concerned members and retired members of Nigerian armed forces protesting at the gate of the Ministry of Defense in Abuja. They say they have no intention of living until demand of pension arrears and improved welfare is addressed. The spokesperson of the group, Roy Okodibe, said that the toll of government insensitivity and plight of the veterans is better imagined than experienced, and that the retired soldiers cannot even afford to leave like the civilians they once protected.
You know, we were very particular not to come out in crowds so that it won't get out of hand. Yes. And even the few numbers that are here, everybody saw that it was difficult to control ourselves. At the Ministry of Finance, we didn't picket the gates because it is a sister agency. And they have promised that we should come and get a letter from them tomorrow about what they are doing about the complaints. We now move down to the Ministry of Defense because this is where our tabled matters have boiling issues. Yeah, so we have demanded for a letter or to see the minister. And we insisted that if a date is fixed, it must be before 15th of January. Yes. Because by 15th of January, we are ready to lie down naked. I intend to naked myself, lie down and be shot. Because what is happening to our colleagues everywhere is the same embarrassment people are facing. Yes. They can't pay house rent, they can't treat themselves, they can't pay children's school fees, they can't live like the civilians they protect, who they live amongst right now.
The outcome of the meeting a few days after the protest, however, came to a conclusion that the agitations will be attended to before the end of January 2022.
On our issues, one, the issue of minimum wage arrears, followed by SDA, Security Department Allowance, medically deboarded personnel, National Health Insurance Scheme, civil service, civil war veterans who were cleared but yet to be paid. These were the issues we tabled before the Honorable Minister, including disparity of pay and pensions. And we discussed extensively with the Honorable Minister ways and manners of solving some of these pressing issues that our men were out to on strike for. And at the end of the day, it was resolved that on the issue of the minimum wage arrears, we are expecting, liaison with the Ministry of Finance, that it will be out before the end of January. On the issue of security department allowance, is receiving presidential attention at the moment, and we are hoping that any moment that issue too will be resolved.
Thank you so much for staying with us on the show. And if you're just joining us, the show is Law and Order. Earlier, you listened to Legionnaires talk about their problems. And of course, their rights are being trampled upon. And it's very, very pertinent that we talk about their rights, where they go to seek redress if their rights are being trampled upon. So today, we're being joined by a legal practitioner, of course. This is someone who has been in the forefront of fighting for people's rights, and Legionnaires are not an exception. So you do us the honors of introducing yourself, because I might want to introduce him and then I say more than I should or less than I should. So introduce yourself to us. But thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, all right, good day. My name is Hosanna Gani. I am a legal practitioner and also, importantly, the founder of the Reformers League for a Better Society, a non-governmental organization. We advocate for a better society in Nigeria. We work with people whose human rights have been trampled upon. We provide pro bono legal services, counsel, and advice as required.
All right, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
So the Legionnaires, ex-serviceman, January 15th is supposed to be a day where we look backward and you know, reminisce on the things that our heroes have done for this country, protecting the integrity of this country. But prior to that, you can see that there have been protests, not just a few days ago, there have been protests even last year about ex-servicemen talking about pension, arrears, health insurance, and among others. So what can you say about what's stipulated in the Legion Act? Because of course that has been launched by the president and is in existence. There's an act that supports the Legionnaires. So take us through the Legion Act. Okay, so
our journey will take us as far back as 1964, amazingly. That's to tell you the importance of veterans and their welfare, and also to tell you that the government ought to be concerned, and is actually, and was even as far back as the early 60s, concerned about veterans. The act was actually passed in 1964. As usual, it undergoes several amendments. The one we are using now, contained in volume 75 of the compiled laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, was last amended in 1988. Well, a lot of clamoring for it to be further amended to cater more for, you know, issues that relates to the welfare of ex-servicemen and veterans, if you would want to call them that. But importantly, the Act simply provides for the welfare of ex-servicemen. Section 1 establishes the Nigerian Legion. It went ahead to mention the functions of the Legion, the objectives of the Legion, and how one will become a Legionnaire, a member of the Nigerian Legion, and the governing body of the Legion, and so on and so forth. But importantly, the purpose of the Act is to provide for the welfare of ex-servicemen. That's the main purpose. And as you rightly stated, January 15th, very wonderful day, when we commemorate the end of the Nigerian Civil War. And you know, you can imagine the number of lives lost, you know, especially of the men that served in the war. And also, you know, we've been bedeviled by insurgency and what have you of recent in this country. And you can imagine the number of gallant soldiers that have fallen. And even before the current trends of insurgency and terrorism problems that we're having, we had the World War I, we had the World War II, and records have shown how gallant Nigerian soldiers have fought, you know, in those wars. So summing all that up, We have the Nigerian Legion Act, providing and establishing the Nigerian Legion as a body corporate. We have a lot of other associations, like the military.
Or the retired
ex-servicemen
of the Federation.
And even those that paid the ultimate sacrifice, their wives, they have associations and what have you, all encapsulated and captured or being provided for, to cater for the welfare of the ex-servicemen and their wives.
Okay, I'm sure in that section of the law, the Legion Act, I'm sure there's a provision for, when we talk about welfare, it has to do with health, right? And
yes.
That's one of the things that they are protesting against, or protesting for the needs to be catered for.
Yeah.
24 months arrears of pension, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But after that protest, there were calls from different government representatives about the way they went about the whole thing, though they had come to a consensus.
Yeah.
But before then, they were talking about them coming out on the 15th of January if their pension arrears are not being paid. But how do they have to go about this? First of all, you have to go through, talking to the ministries. This is not the first time, actually.
Yeah.
This protest has been happening. In December it happened, before December it happened in 2021, and then in 2022 again, just a few days, the Amp Forces Remembrance Day, it happened. So what's the legal way, what's the right way for them to seek redress if their rights have been trampled upon?
Okay, so Maria, before I even talk about how they should seek redress and what they have been doing now, I would just like to define for you who or how to identify a Nigerian ex-serviceman. Of course, just as we stated in the act, provided for, those that have served and have either retired, or whatsoever. But now, currently how you identify an ex-serviceman is one, somebody that either has a sight problem, a hearing problem, an organ problem, somebody that has lost his self-esteem, and just as you stated, somebody whose arrears for many months has not even been paid.
But that is not even stated in the constitutions, but those are...
I'm just saying, yes. That's the reality. That's what we are seeing.
That's
on
how
ground
bad
now. That's how bad the situation is. And another issue you talk about, still before we go to the redress, is health, which is very important. A basic need. A basic need. Most of the injuries and the diseases or the sicknesses, the ailments that these people, the veterans, the Legionnaires, are suffering from are actually ailments, gotten in the course of service. It's either because of the place of posting or the kind of role they played that they actually got such ailments. But to come to think of it, well, a lot of them enrolled in the NHF, Nigerian Health Insurance Scheme. But, just as they rightly stated in their protest, what that covers is only malaria and malaria drugs. So if you have organ problems, serious health issues, you can't, go to cater for, it can't cater for that. Statistics has shown also that 40 to 50% of even the so-called pension that they are not getting goes to healthcare. So this is a very serious issue. Is a very serious, is a national, in fact, I would call it a national security issue, because we are dealing with ex-servicemen, in their numbers, who can't take care of themselves, not to talk about take care of their family or their dependents. So that's how bad the situation is. Now, let me come to your question. Let me not form my questions and answer them, So redress. To me, what the Legionnaires did, the CCV, is it CCV they call them, the coalition of the Legionnaires that came out to protest, I think they did the right thing. Because, just as you said, this is not the first protest. And the body language of the government has shown that they don't listen to anything aside protests. They don't listen to anything. These people on records, they have written before, they have complained before. The defense headquarters have set up committees to work. The Minister of Defense is involved, all to no avail. So for how long are they going to keep waiting? For how long are they going to keep waiting? Some of them have not been enrolled for their security department allowances. you know, aside even the issue of their pension not being paid, you know, and a lot of varied issues like that. So I will start by saying they did the right thing by coming out to protest. If they hadn't done that, probably we would not even be talking about this.
So the security debarment is in that act?
Well, security debarment is a policy of the government.
Okay.
Yes. So the act provided generally for their welfare. And one of the issues when you are talking usually of the welfare of military, of ex-servicemen is the issue of security debarment allowances. That's best practice. In America, it's best practice in British, you know, our colonial masters.
So when did this come about in Nigeria?
Well, it started during actually the regime of President Goodluck Jonathan.
Okay.
But Buhari, the Buhari administration, being an ex-service, you know, chief himself, you know, assented to that policy and make it, brought out the ground rule for the implementation. So I think the problem, not that I think, the problem the Legionnaires are having is with the implementation of the payment of those allowances. So not every ex-serviceman is captured. Focus is only given to those that retire between, is it October, the ending of 2017, to the ending of the year 2020.
So what happens to those people?
I think that's a question for the defense headquarters.
Exactly.
You know, so and that's why they are actually coming out to protest for the debarment allowance alongside the other issues of welfare that they have.
Okay, so we're talking about the redress and how to go about this, which you pointed out that, you know, that's the best way because of the body language of the government.
But I would just like to add to other ways they could go about it.
Okay.
Yes, they have protested. We've seen the repercussion. They told them, calm down, you know, go back.
At the end of the month.
Yes, at the end of the day, we will. So we are waiting to see. But there are many other ways to go about it.
Okay.
Another way that they could protest, even under law, is by petitioning the National Industrial Court. You know, this is a labor-related issue.
Okay.
They have exclusive jurisdiction to attend to that. So they can petition the court. The court will look at the laws, the various provisions of the NHF, the provision that they have for medicals, the provision for the disbarment allowance that we are talking about, signed into law by the president, and all other things, and will be able to interpret and give a stand which they can hold. Another thing they can do, of course, is to attract, there are civil rights organizations that they can engage, especially those of international nature, that they can go to and complain. Probably since they have come out to protest, you know, if the government does not listen to them, maybe they will want to listen to the voice of the civil society organizations. You know, non-governmental organizations, they can approach them. I don't want to mention some of their names, but yes, they can approach them. And also the international media. The media is very powerful and very important, you know. Even though in the protest we've seen the media doing its best to capture, you know, some the very, permit me to use the word graphic in a loose sense, you know, pictures and images of some of those ex-servicemen. Some of them with their mats. In fact, permit me to say some of them said they went to a particular state and they stayed in the house of somebody that is concerned for 3 days.
And even the Legionnaire we interviewed did say some came from a very, very far northern state, from the southeastern part of the country, all over, and they had to come in, maybe stay in front of someone's house, or even stay with a friend who lives in the capital city. So it's a whole lot for them. But I think,
Maridia, another thing is, because me, I'm very concerned, one, about this issue, and I'm also concerned about the health of, considering their age, a lot of them, and they are not just, they are stricken with diseases and some ailments and all of that. I think it's best they protest, because they have a structure too, from the local government to the state and then the central body. So it's good, though they have been doing it, but to just for security and even health issues, to consider taking their protests, especially those in the states, you know, to the states. The grand patron of the Nigerian Legion is the President of the Federal Republic. The patrons are the state governors. So the various state governors, you know, have a responsibility to help these Legionnaires to speak out. The commissioners of justices in the various states and those saddled with security-related issues, welfare-related issues at state level, you know, will have to come in and lend their voice too in this. At the launch of the emblem, commendably, we have seen a lot of action, you know, a lot of goodwill from some of the state governors. We've seen that from Lagos, from Bauchi, you know.
Even individuals.
Yes, and individuals too. So that's commendable. It's something that we should, that the state governors, you know, should keep doing. Not only to cater for the welfare or just to provide during the launch of the emblem for the Amp Forces Remembrance, just to launch, no. But to ensure that the right thing is done, to ensure that the people get their deserved and earned allowances and pensions and what have you.
Some people might be looking at all of this situation and be wondering, yes, these people had to come with their mats, sleep on the floor, and threaten to even go naked if their arrears are not paid. And people are like, who is trampling on their rights? Are their rights being trampled upon? Can you state explicitly how their rights are being trampled upon? Because a lot of people do not understand.
Yeah, of course, their rights are being trampled upon. These are earned. Just as I finished saying, is an earned allowance. It's not a payment in advance. You know, it's earned. These people, some of them, you know, gratuity is not even given, paid the ultimate sacrifice. But those that are still living, you know, have worked. They have worked and now they have retired. They are supposed to be resting. They are supposed to be resting. And the issue is, we have the Military Pensions Board, you know, a separate pension agency that should cater for this, not having to deal with the whole of the civil servants of the Federation or other security agencies or paramilitary, just for the military, you understand? Established by law, you understand? So we shouldn't be, just to cater for the 3 arms of the military we have in Nigeria, shouldn't be a problem. It should be a specialized pension scheme that should be able to know who is retiring when and whose entitlement should be given when, and to ensure a seamless process is being followed and these people are receiving their allowances, you know, in a timely way, and they are well taken care of. You understand? Oh, you know, other countries, you look at the US, you look at Britain, you look at many other countries, these people even have special incentives. Ex-servicemen, they have special tax allowances. There are some services that they don't pay for. They are well honored, they are well respected. It's an honorable thing to be, you know, to join the armed forces first of all, and then you look forward to retirement and then coming home as a veteran, as a hero. You know, they are called national heroes. Some of them that even join politics use it for campaign. They will tell you, I'm a national hero, you know, I've served the country in so place, in so place. And in Nigeria, the contrast is the case. The contrast is the case. We see them carrying mats, not even mattresses, but mats. That's also a definition of their living conditions, carrying mats and willing to go naked, willing to be, you know, to not even willing, staying in a particular place, passing the night for a certain number of days. That is really deplorable. That is inhuman. In itself is inhuman.
But because of time constraint, we cannot continue. But thank you so much for being here. Yeah. We appreciate the knowledge you've passed and also lending a voice to the situation on ground. That's what our ex-servicemen are going through. Welfare, that seems to be the big word here, and that seems to be the recap of the situation that they're going through. So we'll continue to talk about it, but if you have questions for Barrister Hosanna Gani about human rights or what he has talked about today, you can leave your message on our social media platforms displayed on your screen. You can watch the program live on YouTube, and please don't forget to leave a comment and also questions. We'd love to hear from you. Again, that's so much we can take on today's edition of Law and Order. Remember, it's the Armed Forces Remembrance Day episode. That's a special edition for Law and Order. So I'll see you next time on Law and Order. But before then, please, if you have a Legionnaire, you have an ex-serviceman close to you, like we said, individuals donate to these people. You can help them, you can do something significant for them. Nothing is too small, just to move them from that level of, you know, wanting and all of those attributes that our guest has given to them. Or that's what we see, actually. That's what we see. It's not like he coined them and gave it to them, but that's the situation of Ghana. You can help them and you can do better for your country. At the end of the day, we are one Nigeria and we'll continue to live in peace and have each other's back. Thank you so much. My name is Martia Umar. We'll see you next time on Law and Order.